Hey everyone, let's talk about Super Bowl 60 because it is Super Bowl morning. And also, let's discuss a little bit of Jason Witten being snubbed from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just wanted to join you because we couldn't do the live stream on Friday, so I thought, why not chat a little bit about the Cowboys on Sunday as we get ready for Super Bowl 60 between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. And honestly, man, let's just start there. Who do you got? Do you got the Seahawks? Do you got the Patriots? I know it's a Cowboys show, but at the end of the day, we're all NFL fans, and I'm guessing we are all thinking about today's big game. I personally gotta tell you, do not understand the criticism that this Super Bowl has received over the last few days and over the last couple of weeks. Because I've seen people be like, listen, I don't think this Super Bowl feels the same way. And I 100% think that is exclusively because we didn't expect either the Seahawks or the Patriots to be battling it out for the Lombardi Trophy. I don't think any of us expected them to win their divisions. Honestly, I think everyone was between like the Rams and the 49ers, sorry, on the NFC West side of things. And then on the AFC East side of things, everyone assumed it was going to be Josh Allen and the Bills, again, representing the division. That being said, I don't understand the criticism. I think it's a heck of a matchup. You've got Sam Darnold and Drake May, who had tremendously different career trajectories facing each other. You've got two run defenses that can shut down the opponent's run game, so you're going to need to see some plays from your quarterback, and you've got some good coaches on this football game. So I, for one, think the criticism for this Super Bowl is uncalled for. I think it's a heck of a matchup. I think it's going to be a fun game. Is there a chance the Seahawks pull away and obliterate the Patriots? Yes, I think they're built to expand on early leads. However, if the Patriots start fast, I think Drake may have some time in the pocket, because here's the funny thing, even though the Seahawks defense is, in my opinion, the best in the NFL, they don't have that Will Anderson Jr. that broke the game versus the Patriots, right? They don't have that Nick Bonito that was doing the same in the championship game a couple of weeks ago. I think it can be a fun matchup, is what I'm trying to say here. Who am I going with? And Cyber here says, Mal, your score prediction, please. Cyber Bob, my prediction is Seahawks. I'm going with the Seahawks 23-21. I think the Patriots can keep it closer than a lot of people think. Again, I think if the Seahawks jump to an early lead, it's going to be game over, because I think they can run the ball on the Patriots. I think they can play their style of defense with an early lead. Mike McDonald likes to play with two high safeties, and as long as the run game is not a threat, they can continue to do that. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks, but I also think, again, the Patriots can keep it closer than a lot of people think. I think the defense is legit. They've been playing a heck of a postseason. Am I worried about the offense, which has not shown up since the regular season for New England? Yes, but also they played tons of good defenses and under horrible weather conditions. The defense is not going to get better because obviously the Seahawks are great. The weather in San Francisco is going to be warm this Sunday night. So I'm expecting the Seahawks to win. Shout out, by the way, and I might sneeze here. Oh, apologies for that. Katharina says, good morning, Mo. Seahawks for sure over on the YouTube side of things. Cyberbob says that he agrees with the prediction. I Walsh over on Instagram says Seahawks blowout. And yeah, Seahawks, of course, says all for you to win because of D-Law. And hey, we've got a former Cowboys player representing the potential Super Bowl champions today, DeMarcus Lawrence. I've seen a lot of people be like, screw DeMarcus Lawrence. I personally respect him 100%. He was a heck of a player for the franchise, but also he called his shot, and I've got to respect that. He said, you know what? I'm not going to win a Super Bowl with Dallas. Year one after leaving Dallas, he's one win away from raising that Lombardi trophy. And I will be glad if he gets to do it, personally. Katharina says 24-21 Seahawks is her prediction. I almost said the Cowboys there. I almost caught myself daydreaming a little bit about the Cowboys winning that Super Bowl. Maybe Super Bowl 61. You never know. You never know. Too early to tell. That being said, in the frame of Super Bowl 60, we also got the NFL honors on Thursday night, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame announced its enshrinees. Now, for the first time ever, former Dallas Cowboys tight end and iconic player for the Cowboys, Jason Witten, was on the ballot for the first time ever. And many people assumed that his resume was enough to punch his ticket to Canton in year one. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. You're talking about a player who is second place in all-time receptions and receiving yards among tight ends. You're talking about a player that was a consistent All-Pro. You're talking about a player that was ridiculously durable. His availability was second to none. The guy that came back from that broken jaw, right? And a lot of people said, you know what? Jason Witten is going to be in first year in the ballot. He's going to get the votes to be in the Hall of Fame. He didn't, unfortunately. Instead, the Hall of Fame voted for Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly. And I mentioned these three specifically because you're talking about two players who are on the ballot for the first year, Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald. And then Luke Kuechly was on his second year in the ballot. I'm not sure I can argue against any of those three, honestly. Like, Drew Brees had to go in the Hall year one. Larry Fitzgerald had to go in the Hall year one. So I understand maybe Jason Witten not making the cut. I don't think it was a slam dunk. He should have been first year blood. I expected him to be, and I was a little bit surprised Thursday night when he wasn't, but I can see the reasoning from voters, whereas I cannot see it with the Bill Belichick stuff. That's ridiculous. But here's what I really wanted to share, and I wanted to share this because I'm a big Jason Witten fan. Jason Witten is one of the biggest reasons why I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, a diehard football fan. He's the reason why I love football in a big way. And I wanted to talk about this because I kind of feel like Jason's Witten wait might go for a little bit longer than some people think. Jason Witten is obviously going to wait one more year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's then asked to wait yet another year. Let me tell you why. These are the players that are going to be eligible for the first time in 2027. You've got Rob Gronkowski, and he's a big name on the list because he's a tight end. You've got Ben Roethlisberger. You've got Adrian Peterson, Richard Sherman. And I'm going to say it, even Cam Newton is a relevant name on this list. Now, I'll tell you why. There's a big probability that Hall of Fame voters do not want many first-time eligible players to go in Canton. We can argue all day about whether or not that's stupid, but it seems like voters have a bias that kind of restrains them from voting first-time players into Canton. So I could see voters being like, I'm only going to vote for 2 or 3 guys who are on their first year on the ballot. And if you look at Rob Gronkowski and you look at his career, availability is going to be his biggest counter argument. But even with that availability issues or problems, he's got Jason Witten beat in first-team All-Pros. He's a postseason legend. He's got 4 Super Bowls to his name. Voters are going to put that side by side, and they're going to ask themselves if they just want to have one tight end go in, and that might sound stupid, but trust me, some voters are going to be like, well, I've already got a tight end going in, so maybe I'll use this vote for somebody else. Voters are going to find themselves asking, what do I want to put the most stock in? Postseason success, which Gronk obviously has, or durability or longevity, which is obviously on Jason Witten's side. So that's gonna be That's going to be a thing, I think, that voters are going to look at. Then you've got Ben Roethlisberger, and I know he might be controversial, but I mean, he's a very successful quarterback, had a tremendous career with the Steelers, Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's likely going to get at least some consideration. I don't think he's quite at the level of all-time great QBs, so I don't think he's going to be in his first year, but still, he's going to get some consideration, and I wouldn't be surprised if he also gets some votes. Now, Cam Newton, I would consider him a long shot, but he is a former MVP. He played in a Super Bowl. I know it didn't go great for him, and his legacy will be tainted by that fumble, but there is also a chance that some voters go, that 2015 season was one of the best ever by a quarterback. Maybe he draws some consideration from that, but I think he's one of the biggest long shots from the names that I mentioned earlier. Now, Peterson has a historic career. He's a former MVP, 7-time All-Pro. Sherman is a Super Bowl winner, and more than that, he is one of the authors of Seattle's Legion of Boom. All I'm trying to say here is I kind of have some questions about how voters will look at Jason Witten when the time comes to vote for the Hall of Fame next year. That being said, I was reading earlier today that the Hall of Fame is going to consider some changes to its voting process after the Bill Belichick scandal that they found themselves in last week, which I fully understand. I got to tell you, I don't understand how voters could allow Bill Belichick to not go in the Hall of Fame. I thought that was outrageous. But anyways, Katharina says, Sherman does not deserve it, honestly. Nobody's Underdog says, good morning, Katharina. Good morning, Mo. Shout out. Nobody's Underdog. Thanks for joining the stream. So, yeah, man, just wanted to share that because I'm kind of a little bit frustrated about the Jason Witten news, but it is what it is. Obviously, Hall of Fame, man, it's tough to make it in, but sometimes I really wish we would have gotten Jason Witten in 2026. Cyberbob says, after what they did to Belichick, there is no surprise to what happened to 82. Yeah, man, I got to tell you, the Belichick thing was embarrassing is the right word for it. Because I understand some fans going like Spygate and, Deflategate and all of that. But let me tell you, everyone around the NFL knows that's mostly BS. And here's the thing I always say about Deflategate and Spygate. ESPN went out years later and apologized for its witch hunt on the Patriots with the Deflategate stuff. It apologized and it admitted we were not fair with the way that we covered that story, and pretty much acknowledging that Deflategate was not a big deal at all. Spygate is a little bit different, but you've got coaches everywhere and players everywhere being like, it really wasn't that big of a deal in terms of the Patriots gaining a competitive advantage. Did they literally break the rules? I mean, yes, but did it matter as much as people think it mattered? Hell, probably. Now, the other thing is the Boston Herald also apologized for Spygate, at least for some of the information that they reported on Spygate, including saying that tapes existed that they didn't know existed, right? And, I mean, again, I do think that was BS, like not getting Belichick in. Now, to be fair, as Jason says, if it didn't matter, why would they suspend Tom Brady? Which hunt Brady was suspended? And I mean, you look at the Deflategate stuff, and even when they suspended them, it was like, I mean, we don't know if they did it, but it's likely that they did, right? I don't know, man. I just think that, and I remember this when Deflategate was happening, you had quarterbacks, like big-name quarterbacks being like, yeah, I've done that. And nobody cared. Nobody batted an eye about that. And the Deflategate thing, it was about like 1 or 2 games too. And it was the one that they blew up the Colts in the first and the second half. It was ridiculous, right? And then, again, the same with Spygate. You just had Jimmy Johnson Jimmy Johnson, the Cowboys legend, admitted on the Pat McAfee show, yeah, we tried to record things just like the Patriots did. I mean, didn't work out for Dallas, but they tried to do the same sort of techniques, which they learned from the Chiefs. You can see that interview with the Pat McAfee show. It was hilarious because you've got Jimmy Johnson pissed off that Belichick was not in Canton. So I'm just saying, man, I don't think it was a big deal at all, and I think it's a stain in the Hall of Fame. Like, you've got players celebrating that they're now football immortals, and you're also wondering, well, I do have some questions about these voters. That being said, I don't think the Jason Witten thing is anything close to that. Jason Witten, again, I can see the reason why Witten was not voted in. I'm sad about it. I'm pissed off about it. And I hope the wait doesn't extend beyond 2027. But the Belichick thing is embarrassing. Catherine says, I'm glad Tom Brady was suspended. That's why I don't like Brady. To me, it was a big deal. And of course, there is that side of things as well. Nose Guy says, you have a nice nose, by the way. I absolutely love that there's a TikTok user named Nose Guy, just letting you know what the proportions of your nose are in case you were wondering. Shout out to you, Nose Guy. Thank you for watching the stream, and thank you for dropping the comment. I will take it as a compliment. I will take it as a compliment, man. Thank you guys for joining the live stream. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. And yeah, have a good one. Have a good one. Patriots Seahawks in San Francisco. Let's have some fun watching that game, man. Have a fantastic weekend.